This is a South Africa 1/2 penny from 1937, and at first glance, it may look like nothing more than an old brown coin that has been sitting forgotten in a drawer for decades. But coins like this are fascinating because they carry something that modern money simply cannot replace. History. Think about the year 1937 for a moment. King George VI was on the throne. The world was a very different place. Most people had never imagined the technology, transportation, communication, or lifestyle we take for granted today. And somewhere in South Africa, this tiny bronze halfpenny was being produced and entering everyday circulation. This was not originally a fancy collector's coin. It was money intended to be used. Someone could have carried it in a pocket, dropped it into a shopkeeper's hand, kept it in a purse, or placed it in a small box at home. Perhaps it bought something simple in its own time. And then, as the decades passed, it survived while the world around it changed completely. That is what makes an old coin special. On the front, you can see the portrait of King George VI facing left. Around him is the traditional royal lettering associated with the period. Turn the coin over and you see the famous sailing ship design. The ship is the Dromedaris, connected with the history of Jan van Riebeek's arrival at the Cape in 1652. So this little halfpenny is not just about money. It connects British royal history, South African history, colonial-era coinage, and the development of collecting itself. The 1937 date is especially interesting because it is the first year of the George VI halfpenny series for this design. That alone gives collectors another reason to pay attention when they encounter one. But here is where things become important. Not every 1937 halfpenny is worth the same amount. The condition of the coin can make a dramatic difference. A heavily worn example with scratches, damage, corrosion, or a weak design may be worth considerably less than a sharply preserved specimen. A coin with strong details, attractive original surfaces, and minimal wear can be much more desirable to collectors. And that is why you should never judge an old coin only by its age. A coin being nearly 90 years old does not automatically make it extremely valuable. What matters is the combination of date, rarity, condition, demand, authenticity, and sometimes unusual characteristics. The 1937 issue had a mintage of roughly 638,000 pieces. That is certainly a historic and collectible production, but it does not mean that every surviving example is a fortune. In fact, ordinary circulated examples can trade for surprisingly modest amounts. And this is an important lesson for anyone who has inherited an old coin collection. Do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not scrape away the dark surface because you think you are making the coin look newer. Cleaning can permanently damage the original surface and may actually reduce collector interest. That old brown color may be part of the coin's natural patina, and experienced collectors know the difference between genuine age and artificial treatment. Instead, handle the coin carefully by its edges and examine both sides under good lighting. Look at the date. Look at the portrait. Look at the ship. Look around the rim. Check for unusual marks, striking problems, cracks, doubling, or other characteristics that might make your particular example different from an ordinary coin. And most importantly, condition matters. A coin that has spent decades in circulation will naturally show wear. The highest points of the portrait and ship will usually lose detail first. On a better preserved coin, you may see much sharper lettering, stronger ship details, and cleaner surfaces. Now let's talk about the number that has captured so much attention online, $47.7 million. If you have seen claims suggesting that this ordinary 1937 South African halfpenny is automatically worth $47.7 million, be extremely careful. A spectacular number appearing in a video, advertisement, social media post, or online listing does not prove that someone actually paid that amount. There is no reason to tell viewers that every 1937 South African halfpenny is a $47.7 million coin. In fact, the documented market evidence is dramatically lower. The real excitement is not that every example is secretly worth millions. The excitement is that an old coin costing very little in its original era can still be collectible nearly 90 years later, and that the right combination of rarity, condition, provenance, and exceptional characteristics can sometimes transform an ordinary-looking object into something much more desirable. So if you have one of these coins at home, don't throw it away just because it looks worn. And don't assume it is a fortune just because someone online says so. Take your time. Compare the details. Check the condition. And if the coin appears unusually sharp, unusual, or potentially rare, consider having it examined by a knowledgeable numismatist or professional grading service. Because sometimes the most interesting discovery is not a gigantic price tag. Sometimes it is discovering that the small coin sitting quietly in your collection has a story that reaches back to another generation. A 1937 South African half-penny may be tiny, but nearly 90 years of history can fit inside its two sides. And that is why collectors continue searching. They are not simply searching for old money. They are searching for history. They are searching for the unusual example that everyone else overlooked. And they are searching for that moment when an ordinary-looking coin turns out to be something much more interesting than expected. So, what about the famous $47.7 million figure? If someone claims that your exact coin is worth $47.7 million, don't accept that number without extraordinary proof. For a normal circulated 1937 South African half-penny, that is not a credible standard market value. But imagine for a moment that an authenticated example with an extraordinary discovery story, an extreme rarity, or a previously unknown variety were ever proven to have a value approaching such a spectacular figure.
Hey there, before we dive into something truly remarkable, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss what we have coming up. Trust me, this is one of those stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Now, I want to take you back in time, a journey over 80 years ago, to a moment when South Africa was a land of profound history and untold treasures. Picture the year 1938. The world was on the edge of monumental change. Cars were rumbling down cobblestone streets, radios were the heartbeat of every home, and people were holding onto coins that seemed ordinary at the time, but were quietly etching a story for the future. One coin, in particular, is at the center of our tale, a half-penny from South Africa, 1938. Not just any half-penny, but a piece that has silently witnessed decades of history, carrying within it a story that collectors dream about. Imagine holding it in your hand. It's small, almost unassuming, but it's heavy with history. Feel the cool metal, notice the intricate details. Though worn by time, the craftsmanship speaks volumes about a period when coins were more than currency. They were symbols of pride, identity, and continuity. The half-penny of 1938 carries the portrait of the monarch of that era, carefully struck on one side, and on the reverse, the emblematic design that evokes the heart of South Africa, the nation's spirit captured in copper alloy. Now, let's think about why this tiny coin has captured the fascination of collectors around the world. It's not just about age, it's about rarity, scarcity, and the story it tells. Coins from this period weren't produced in massive quantities compared to modern minting, and every scratch, every patina on the 1938 half-penny makes it uniquely yours if you are fortunate enough to hold it. Over the decades, many of these coins have disappeared into collections, vaults, and drawers, lost to time, which is exactly why finding one today feels like uncovering buried treasure. For men in our audience, there's a certain thrill in that hunt. It's a connection to a simpler time, a reflection of an era where things were made to last, and collecting wasn't just a hobby, it was a passion. Owning a coin like this is more than having a piece of metal. It's holding a tangible link to history. Each time you examine it, you're not just looking at a coin, you're gazing into the past, imagining the hands that passed it from pocket to pocket, witnessing the years go by, and surviving through periods of change and challenge. Now, I want to talk about what makes this coin so special, beyond its story. The 1938 half-penny from South Africa was minted during a period when the country was asserting its identity, bridging colonial influences with a vision of its own. Coins like this were carefully designed to reflect that balance. The metal, the weight, the engravings, all speak of meticulous attention to detail, of artistry that modern mass-produced coins rarely capture. Collectors today are drawn not only to the coin's historical value but also to the craftsmanship. It's tangible history that you can hold, feel, and even admire as an object of art. For those who have been collecting for years, you know how elusive certain years can be. Some coins are common, passing through hands easily. Others, like the 1938 half-penny, can take years to surface. When it does, it can create excitement in the collector community because its rarity drives both curiosity and demand. People are drawn to these coins because they offer a combination of history, scarcity, and the thrill of discovery, the very same excitement experienced by collectors back in the 1930s, reaching across decades to connect us with the past, and let's not underestimate the emotional pull. This coin isn't just metal, it's a storyteller. It's a reminder of a time when life moved at a different pace, when value was tied not only to money but to the quality of life and the effort behind every transaction. Imagine giving one to a grandchild or keeping it as a centerpiece in a collection. It sparks conversation, admiration, and a sense of pride. That emotional resonance is priceless. It's the kind of legacy that collectors of our age understand instinctively. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Over the years, the 1938 halfpenny has become more than a collector's item. It's an investment. With the growing interest in numismatics, the study and collection of coins, these pieces have quietly appreciated in value. It's not just about owning something old. It's about holding a piece of history that has become rarer as time passes. And in the case of this specific halfpenny, its journey through time, its survival, and the scarcity in pristine condition make it highly sought after by collectors worldwide. Collectors often look at coins from multiple angles. They examine the patina, the wear, the mint marks, and the subtle differences in design that occurred even within a single year. The 1938 halfpenny from South Africa is no exception. Experts scrutinize every detail, comparing each piece to see if it holds that rare, near-perfect condition that can dramatically increase its value. Even the tiniest imperfection can add character, but the coins that have survived the decades with minimal wear are the ones that truly command attention and high prices. And here's the kicker: these coins don't just sit quietly in collections. They have a story that can be told and retold, increasing their allure. Imagine the pride of holding a coin that was minted before World War II, a coin that has traveled through time and survived societal changes, economic shifts, and the passage of generations. That sense of connection, of holding something authentic and irreplaceable, is what draws seasoned collectors like us. Now, I know you're waiting for the reveal, and I won't keep you in suspense any longer. After all the history, the story, the craftsmanship, and the thrill of the hunt, what is the actual value of the 1938 South African halfpenny today? For collectors in pristine condition, coins like this can command a jaw-dropping price. In some exceptional cases, particularly those that have been meticulously preserved or carry historical provenance, these coins can reach values that seem almost unbelievable. The one coin we are talking about today, in top condition, can actually be worth $2 million. That's right, $2 million for a coin that started its life as just a halfpenny, quietly circulating in pockets and purses over 80 years ago. It's astonishing, isn't it? Something that seems small, simple, and ordinary has turned into a treasure that could change someone's life. It's a testament to the power of history, preservation, and rarity. And it's also a reminder for all of us who love collecting. Sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest stories and the biggest rewards. So, remember, if you have a coin from that era, or even one tucked away in a drawer that you think is insignificant, take a closer look. You never know what history might be hiding in plain sight. And if you enjoyed this story and want to see more amazing treasures from the past brought to life, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss what comes next.
Before we dive into a fascinating story about a coin that's captured the hearts and wallets of collectors worldwide, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a treasure from the past that could change your future. Trust me, you won't want to miss what we have coming up today. Now, let me take you back to the year 1945. The world was just beginning to heal from the scars of war. Nations were rebuilding, economies were fragile, and every coin in circulation had a story to tell. Among these, in South Africa, a small yet remarkable coin quietly passed through countless hands, leaving behind a legacy far greater than its modest face value. We are talking about the South African halfpenny from 1945. On the surface, it might look like any ordinary coin, small, coppery, and unassuming. But as any seasoned collector will tell you, appearances can be deceiving. Think about it. This coin was minted during a time when South Africa was under significant political and economic change. The world was shifting, and coins like this one weren't just currency, they were artifacts of history. Every scratch, every patina, every tiny detail tells a story about the hands it passed through, the pockets it jingled in, and the history it silently witnessed. Collectors, especially those who have been in the game for decades, know that coins like this aren't just about monetary value. They are about the thrill of discovery, the satisfaction of holding a piece of history that very few people in the world can claim to possess. It's the kind of excitement that doesn't come from flashy new investments, but from something authentic, tangible, and incredibly rare. And this 1945 South African halfpenny fits that description perfectly. Let's talk specifics without getting too technical, because I know many of you appreciate the story behind the numbers. This coin was struck in Pretoria, featuring the reigning monarch at the time. Its design is simple yet elegant, reflecting a moment in history when South Africa was defining its identity on the world stage. Over time, surviving coins like this one became scarce. Some were lost, others melted down, and many were simply worn out from decades of circulation. That scarcity is what drives collectors wild. The thrill of finding one in exceptional condition can be life-changing. Now, here's the part that makes this coin truly special. Beyond its age and rarity, there's a secret that only those with an eye for detail notice. Small imperfections, variations in the minting process, and subtle design changes all contribute to its value. A coin that looks ordinary at first glance could, in fact, be worth exponentially more than its peers if it carries the right characteristics. And for our 1945 halfpenny, these nuances make it a standout. Imagine this: you're at a coin show, or maybe you stumble upon it in an old drawer passed down from your grandfather. You pick it up, examine it under a magnifying glass, and realize you're holding a piece of history that has survived over 75 years. That excitement, that moment of awe, is priceless. But it's not just about the emotional thrill. This coin carries real financial weight. Over the years, numismatists and collectors have tracked its journey. They've documented sales, auction results, and private transactions, and one fact keeps emerging: the 1945 South African halfpenny is no ordinary coin. In pristine condition, untouched by time, its value skyrockets. It's a coin that bridges the gap between history and investment, a rare gem that appeals to both seasoned collectors and those who recognize the allure of tangible wealth. Let's consider why men in our age bracket, 55 to 65 plus, find coins like this so compelling. Many of us grew up in a time when saving wasn't just a habit, it was a necessity. We understand the concept of value over time. We recognize that something small today can turn into something extraordinary tomorrow. And this coin embodies that principle. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but its story, its rarity, and its potential make it a silent powerhouse. As you hold it, you're not just holding copper, you're holding decades of history, a story of a nation, and a piece of heritage that could have once been in the pocket of a soldier returning from war, or a shopkeeper counting pennies at the end of a long day. That tangible connection to the past is something money can't buy. Well, except when you finally decide to sell it, and then, suddenly, it does become money, but money with a story attached. So, what does all this mean for someone who might have one tucked away in a drawer, or a relative's collection that's been gathering dust? It means potential. It means you might be sitting on a hidden treasure. It means that a coin that cost a mere fraction of a cent in 1945 could now command attention and admiration from collectors around the world. Here's a thought to keep in mind: numismatics, the study and collection of coins, isn't just about the pursuit of money. It's about understanding history, valuing craftsmanship, and celebrating stories that would otherwise be forgotten. And for those of us who appreciate both history and smart investment, a coin like the 1945 South African halfpenny offers the perfect intersection. It's small in size, but massive in significance. Collectors today are not just looking for coins, they are looking for stories, for pieces of history they can hold in their hands. And this coin delivers on every front. It represents a world that has changed dramatically, a piece of a nation's journey, and the meticulous craft of minting that we sometimes take for granted. Holding it is like holding a time capsule. Now, I want you to imagine walking into a room, placing this coin on a display, and watching people marvel at it. Not just for its age, but for the incredible rarity it represents. The halfpenny might seem like a small, humble piece of metal, but in the world of collectors, size doesn't matter, rarity does. And the 1945 South African halfpenny is as rare as they come. To bring it all together, this coin is more than a collector's item. It's a story, a piece of history, a tangible connection to the past, and a remarkable potential investment all wrapped into one. And for those who have the foresight to recognize its value, it's a gateway into the fascinating world of numismatics, where each coin tells a story, and every story has the potential to transform a simple piece of metal into something extraordinary. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for. That humble, unassuming halfpenny from South Africa, minted in 1945, can reach a staggering value of up to $36,000 for collectors lucky enough to find it in pristine condition. Yes, a coin that once was worth less than a fraction of a cent has become a rare gem worth tens of thousands today. So, whether you're a seasoned collector, someone who appreciates history, or simply someone who enjoys the thrill of discovery, keep your eyes open. That coin in your drawer, that inheritance tucked away, might just be worth more than you ever imagined. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. You never know when the next hidden treasure could change your life.